This is Curious Brain Thoughts.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Lou. How are you?
Well, I've just looked at you and it looked like you had a new cushion on your sofa, but it's actually the dog.
Yes, lying perfectly behind me in a really helpful way.
Now he's moved, so you can
Thankfully,
actually
huzzah!
sit on your own sofa.
It's good of him. Good of him to move.
Yeah, he's so considerate, to be fair.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He is a good boy. How are your four-legged friends?
They're very well, thank you. Dizzy turned 9 last week.
Legend.
Yeah, she's doing very well. She loves a tennis ball. A friend of mine came for lunch yesterday and she bought her 2 dogs. She's got a miniature Dachshund crossed with a Jack Russell, and he's called Floyd. And then she's also got a Labrador. So we both got small dogs, big dogs. And she bought toys for the dogs, for my dogs.
Lovely.
Tennis balls on a bit of rope. Absolutely great. We have a lovely lunch. She goes off. I go upstairs and I'm in a series of calls during the afternoon. I come downstairs. What do I find, Paul?
Everything in tatters.
Correct. I hadn't even given the dogs the toys. They'd taken them from wherever I put them. I can't remember. And they'd utterly destroyed them.
Because Dizzy does have a penchant for a tennis ball, doesn't she?
She'd love a tennis ball. They all go under the chair in the lounge and then she just sits there and cries like woeful, despairing cries from her very soul. And then you just need to get down on your hands and knees and get the tennis balls
It's
out.
bad, isn't it?
Fine.
I mean, listeners,
I
it's
know.
bad the way that she's treating her animals.
I know. Call the RSPCA. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's all good though.
And how are you?
I'm very well. I am enjoying harvesting the last of the wild garlic here in the UK. Making pesto and wild garlic butter, and I'm doing a sourdough batch at the moment. I might make a garlic version of that.
Ooh.
Garlic sourdough.
Any chance you can do that before we meet face to face tomorrow?
Well, actually, Paul, funnily enough, the bread will go in the fridge this evening and be baked tomorrow morning.
Is the correct answer. Well done. You win. You win. Congratulations.
Thanks. So.
It's like one of those rubbish prizes that you get at work. You just like, I don't know what this award is for and it's crap. Just give me a pay rise.
Yeah. They think that giving you a plaque or some kind of trophy you might give to a child for participating in a football match is going to be better for you than some money in your pocket.
I mean, for obvious reasons, it will be better.
Yes. It reminds me of that scene in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation where Clark W. Griswold is expecting a big bonus check because that's what's happened in previous years. And he's got no reason to think otherwise. And then the penny pinching boss gives them all a subscription to Jam of the Month Club.
Amazing.
And he's like, what the actual hell is this?
Oh, yeah. Berserk. I find myself on this Thursday feeling a little tired, a little jaded.
Do you, love?
Yeah. Just in need of some rest. We did an episode on rest a while ago. And I notice that all of the rest that I have done up until now has predominantly been let's call it active rest. So I'm doing something. I'm not just like physically fully resting or whatever. And so that means that, well, I'm always on the go doing something, whether I'm using my head or my body or whatever. And I think actually what I need at the moment is some full-on lie on the sofa, do nothing kind of rest.
Yes.
So,
Because active rest might be a mental break from things, or something that tops you up. It might be soul food, which is great, but at a certain point, the body will say no, thank you.
yeah. So there we are, which is nice.
So, Paul, what then is your gut feel for how you'd like to proceed, caller?
Well, you're welcome, everyone. Let's bash some buttons, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
You ready?
And you can do that from the sofa with a long stick. You don't have to get up.
Yeah, no, I got one of them, like, them granny picker-upper things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one of them.
So use that. Yeah.
Yeah. This one goes around corners as well, which is quite good.
Very.
Yeah. It's like bendy and it like can go round the door. Oh, it's incredible.
So use that.
Okay.
Off we go.
Go.
Random theme generator. Random theme generator.
I say.
Well, this is an interessante one. The RTG never fails to disappoint.
What's it given us?
Humility.
Ah.
I like that.
I just heard. Was that your house? Something going past?
Yeah, someone like driving well fast
Right.
on
Okay.
a rubbish little bike thing. It would have been like a scooter that just had a noisy exhaust on it.
So the etymology of this is through Latin into the Old French and then into the English. And Oxford says the quality of having a modest or low view of one's importance. He needs the humility to accept that their way may be better. Cambridge, let's go. And Cambridge says to us the following: the quality of not being proud because you are aware of your bad qualities. Interesting. They might be very rich, but it wouldn't hurt them to show a little humility. So that's the feeling or attitude that you have no special importance, that makes you better than others.
Yeah.
That's those are the definitions of humility.
Which resonate with you?
Well, I think for me personally, I like the last one best, the feeling
Me
or
too.
attitude. You have no special importance that makes you better than others.
Yeah, me too.
A lack of pride. So it's interesting because I don't like the pride bit. So too much of anything is too much. And if you're going, oh, I'm the cat's pajamas and the bee's knees all rolled into one, that isn't a pleasant thing to do. However, I think we sometimes swing too far the other way and we don't allow anything in. We're not proud of ourselves for anything. We're not, giving ourselves credit for the things that we do that are fantastic. So humility is saying, for me, I'm no better or worse than anybody else. I have gifts and talents. You have gifts and talents. We all do. We all have flaws and say-do gaps,
Ceilings,
walls, etc.
etc.
You know, we all have say-do gaps that get in the way, and that's also fine. And we have things that we work on and we grow and develop, and that. So in that way, I'm no better or worse than anybody else. And that, but I think that is a problem if that attitude gets in the way of me appreciating the things that I'm good at. In other words, if I can only see the ways in which I'm not good enough or not, do you know what I mean? Then I think that's an excess of humility, potentially.
Yeah, for me, I think about humility as being a sign of self-grounding, self-belief, self-confidence, and as something of strength, not of weakness. And we've had numerous occasions where we've been working with like corporate clients, and the word humility comes up, and it is often seen as a weakness, as, well, you don't want to be humble because that means you get trodden all over.
Yeah.
No, that's... So for me, it's tuning into the fact that noticing the people who are really centered and self-aware and full of confidence and belief and so forth about themselves aren't the ones stood up shouting about all the things that they've achieved and the stuff they have and all these kind of things. You know, the people who really display humility, they don't feel the need to jump and shout about all those things, because the way that they are being is demonstrating everything it needs to about themselves. So for me, I feel it's quite a deep thing, humility, and is something that I value in that way, not necessarily in the some of the other definitions. You know, because you are aware of your bad qualities and whatever. Okay, well, it seems to be going off on a bit of a tangent. That
Yeah, I agree.
not really hitting the mark.
Yeah, it's nice to frame it as a confident thing to do, because I often think that the people who are those slightly bombastic, slightly self-promoting, it's one thing to be aware of your accomplishments and achievements, enable compliments to come in to give yourself compliment, but it's another thing to need the validation. Those are two different things, and then you're constantly seeking it, constantly looking for it, and that comes from a place of lack of self-confidence, of self-worth. As you say, the quieter people tend to be the people who are sure.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily volume quiet or whatever. No. You know, it's in how people are being. And I was just thinking about something that has now just totally escaped me. That humility, in the way that we're describing, for me, is one of these things that truly comes from our sense of self. And when we're really connected with the power of that self-energy, because I can think of numerous occasions where I've felt this pang of insecurity when I've been on a call or in a meeting or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm not necessarily feeling like I'm adding any value or contributing or whatever it is. You know, a story will start, and there's this pang of insecurity, and almost like contributing for contributing's sake is the temptation.
Yeah.
And yet with humility, you don't really need, to reconnect with that humbleness again. You know, the first question is, how is this of service to others? So I think humility is an outward reflection of an inner state.
Yeah.
And it is often in service of others.
It's interesting because I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. And there's this thing that I've observed, which is the humble brag,
Yeah.
which is, it looks modest and self-deprecating, but it's actually self-promoting.
Yes. Just like that sketch in Monty Python.
Yes. Just like
Bread
that
and
sketch.
water? You had bread and water? Gosh, we only had gravel.
Gravel? I'd be lucky to have gravel on Christmas Day as a special treat.
Exactly.
So it's one of those vibes where that is not true humility. That is self-promotion. And actually, if people were just honest about the fact that they were promoting themselves, I think it would probably go down a bit better.
It also makes me think of the episode we did ages ago, the games we play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if what you were just describing there with this self-promotion and so on, well, that is enabling a game to happen. Whereas with humility, there is the total absence. When this authentic humility, I mean, not this, needy humility, or
No.
I can more humble you, I'll out humble you, or whatever.
Yeah.
This authentic humility, which is grounded in this very strong power of lots of different things that we've talked about. There are no games that need to be played.
No.
So you can't play a game with someone who is authentically humble.
Well, no, because they're fully aware of their strengths, their weaknesses, the things they bring, the things they don't, and they're comfortable with all of that, and they're clear about all of that, and they're confident about all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't need to do a humble brag or anything else. They just are.
Mm.
And they believe that that's okay, and that is enough.
Yeah, because that is so important, that connectedness to the good bits, the uncomfortable, unpleasant bits, the creative bits, the fun bit, being connected to all of these things and knowing they're there and still being able to love yourself, really. It's so, this type of humility, I'm just thinking, is actually maybe more scarce than we think after a second look.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it takes real courage to see yourself fully.
Mm-hmm.
For all of the things that you're great at and all of the things that you struggle with, and feel that that's okay. To sit in that and go, yeah, this is fully all right with me. And to not need the validation of other people. I mean, you appreciate it, you welcome it, but you don't need it.
That's right.
Wow, that's a rare person, really, in a huge amount of self-energy.
Totally.
Yeah, that would be a beautiful thing. writes self humble brag LinkedIn post.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so humble.
I'm a humble millionaire from humble background.
Yes.
You know that song "Common People" by Pulp?
Yes.
It reminds me a little bit of that, where to be poor is to be cool. And
Yes,
even if you're rich, you live in a cockroach-infested flat because it's cool. It's a bit like that with humility. To be humble is, we know, a good thing, so we pretend.
Yes. And, then that fake humility kicks in.
Yeah, humility.
I do love it, though. It's such a simple word, yet is wrapped in such depth if we're willing to explore.
Yes, I think in its purest form, it goes right to the very core of self. And of course, some of those definitions that we read out at the start were steeped in judgment and criticism.
I hadn't noticed.
Oh, okay, Oxford, you might want to hashtag rethink that. But, if in its purest form, it is that deep self-acceptance, self-leadership, and not needing, and that being enough and okay, and not needing anything else on top. Beautiful.
It is really, really lovely. I'd actually love to spend more time talking about it, because the other thing I notice, to me, it feels generative. It doesn't feel like it's something that is diminishing or consuming. It feels generative in the way we're talking about it. It's expansive.
Yeah, what would a humble leader look like, for example? And we both very much vibe with the idea of servant leadership, and I don't think that you can, leaders eat last. All of those things, you have to have humility for those things to work.
Otherwise, they become an act.
Correct.
Oh dear, then we have a say-do gap. Whoopsie
daisy. So humility is at the core of leadership in whatever context, of yourself, and then outwards to other people. So I do agree, Paul. I think it is generative because it enables so much.
Because with that humility, you can get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And get out of other people's way.
Correct.
And you may find that, your part in getting out of someone's way or whatever might be that you're a nut to their bolt or whatever.
Yeah, or a spanner.
Exactly. So,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is. Oh, that's I could literally write off the rest of the day now just thinking about that.
Well, it's a nice thing to actually wrap up now when with that seed planted, because then how can I show more humility in my life to myself and to others? How can I show up with humility? How can I embody that? All these, and it'll be different for all of us, right? We'll all have our own reflections on it. The key thing is it true? Is it authentic? Because if it isn't, you're humble bragging.
Exactly. So, that was marvellous, Lou. I really enjoyed that.
Samesies.
And we'd love to hear from you, actually, what your thoughts are on humility. And if you'd like to get involved in any way, shape or form, Lou, pray tell, how best might someone do that?
Well, the best way, the humblest way, is to send us an email, curiousbrainfarts@gmail.com.
Wonderful.
Yes, I'm going to humbly trot off now and do some work.
Do you know what? I'm starving. I might have some humble pie.
Love that for you.
Amazing.
All right, love. Take care.
Nice to see you. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Curious Brain Thoughts.